Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for joining me once again for one of these Magic the Gathering reviews. And this time here, we are going to be going over a little bit of Secret Lair. Yes, we are going back in with some of our new artworks there. Ooh. Now, this one is special in that it's actually based off of an older one that was a Chaos drop, which was based off of cats. So, previously, there was a Chaos drop that had both cats and dogs on the cover arts, though they had the exact same cards within them. They just had different arts based off of cats or dogs. And the whole thing was, at the very end, whichever one sold out first, they were going to be making a lair based off of that. And cats won just barely. So they wanted to make one off of that. So that's where we're going in. That's the backstory of all of this. We've got a bunch of cats to go through. So starting off, we are going to be going through Felix the cat. Look at how colorful and random they are. A little bit of that rubber hose animation that we have, that we know very famously, that we can see a lot of that old styling, kind of like Steamboat Willie with the black fur in this case, and the white gloves. Now, unfortunately, that is a former racist practice, so you don't necessarily see it all that common anymore. But at the time, you know, that's kind of what it was striving for. So we've kind of gone away from that, but where the history comes from, unfortunately, that's where it is. So we're starting off here, Felix the cat. We've got a little bit of future sight. Ooh, looking into the future there. So future sight's going to be 2/3 blue for an enchantment that has, well, the tongue is in the way there, but it's play with the top card of your library revealed, and you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. So, you know, based off of the set that it's named after, Future Sight, which had just a bunch of new lookings in of, man, this is what Magic cards might look like in the future. They don't necessarily look like that, but we've got Felix, you know, in a black and white world, and sticks out his tongue in everything there, both in his eyes as well as the version of him that's on the tongue is all in color. We've got a lot of electronics and kind of Jetsons style technology in the background there. Not like our Warhammer 40K, which we had another crossover with, but, you know, it's a nifty little card that's based off of a set name there. So we'll look into that. And next up, we've got, one of my favorites here, Time Stretch. 8 and double blue for a sorcery that has target player take an extra 2 turns after this one. So you have a lot of extra turn spells that cost around that 5-6 mana. You know, you've got some of them that are a little bit more specialized, like Nexus of Fate, which allows you to shuffle it back into your deck there so you can use it again. But Time Stretch, it's more expensive, but you get 2 turns instead. And so you can see here that Felix has some sort of, stopwatch there, and it's making him stretch through all of that time there. Very, very nice. Maybe if I want to expand on that deck and have a little bit of Felix in there, I certainly can. Next up, we've got a little bit of Feral Felix. Look at him. So scary. Back in the past. He went so far back in the past that he gained color again. This is going to be a copy of Barrow-goyf, which is a card that came out in Modern Horizons 3 in the commander decks of the Disa commander deck, which was all based around the Lurgoyfs. So this is going to be 2 and a black for a star for its power and a 1+ star for its toughness. That's based off of stuff in your graveyard, so at the very least, If it's 0, it'll be a 0/1, and it won't necessarily die just by being out there. But it's going to be a Lurgoyf, as we talked about, and it's going to have Death Touch and Lifelink. Feral Felix's power is equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. So, creature type, creature, artifact, enchantment, battle, planeswalker, sorcery, instant, enchantment. These are all different types that will help make it a little bit bigger. Now, I don't think that you can get attractions into the graveyard, but, you can do whatever you can to try to get as many different types in there to make this big. But whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may mill that many cards. If you do, you may put a creature card from among them into your hand. So, mill a little bit, potentially make it a little bit bigger by having more types out there, and then bringing one creature back from your graveyard into your hand so that you're able to play it. And, they just have them a very simplified look there, make the hair a little bit more shaggy on him instead of being very smooth, a little bit of a wild look in the eye, sharp claws, sharp teeth, tongue sticking out and looking ravenous, trying to find something to eat. Makes sense. We're also going to be getting Throes of Chaos, which just has a lot of different versions of him saying radio, radio, radio. So this is going to be 3 in a red for a sorcery that has Cascade and Retrace. So it's a bit of a weird card in that what happens is you play this for 4 and you Cascade instantly. So you you exile the top cards of your deck until you find a non-land spell. So a non-land is just any spell, but a spell with mana value less than the card that you use that has Cascade. You put it on the battlefield or you play it if it's an instant or sorcery, and then everything else gets shuffled randomly onto the bottom of your deck. And then a Retrace is it gets exiled afterwards, and you replay it without paying its mana cost on your next turn. I can't remember if it's during your upkeep or if it's during your first main phase, but I would imagine main phase. But essentially you get 2 free cards by spending 4. So you could spend 4 and then get 2 3-mana spells and essentially be up 2 mana. And, definitely a bit of a House of Mirrors effect there of all of the different ones that are making them go absolutely crazy in the throes of chaos. Oh, and this one is done by Wizard of Barge, who made the Goblin Storm deck. Now, unfortunately, I did not get the deck. There's been some problems with it, and I'm hoping to be able to get one, and when I do, I'll be able to showcase it, but it is showing up on a lot more cards. And our last confirmed one is going to be this Mind's Eye, which is going to be 5 mana for an artifact that whenever an opponent draws a card, you can pay 1, and if you do, you draw a card yourself. So we just have Felix here meditating, and the persona that he has on the outside, the mask, is coming off, and we see the peaceful, thoughtful mind within, and the third eye of his mind is letting all of the information in to try to get it. But, yep, this is a decent one. There's a lot of different effects that kind of help that do this. A lot of them are a once-a-turn type of effect, except for, like, Consecrated Phoenix. Not Phoenix, Consecrated Sphinx. But, this is just a one-and-done type of effect. Now, let us see here. I don't know if these are going to have different cards. I'm going to guess, based off of what I'm seeing, that they're going to be the same ones. So I'm going to take these off at the same time. So our last guaranteed one is going to be, okay, Warp World. And it looks like non-foil or foil, you get them in foil. So I am just going to be looking at this one here. Warp World, which is actually it's a fun card, but it can be an annoying card. It's literal chaos there. Based off of Chaos Warp, a red instant that lets you put a permanent shuffled back into your opponent's library, and then they reveal the top card of their library. If it's a permanent, they put it on the battlefield. If not, I believe they put it into their hand. So this is going to be 5 and 3 red for a sorcery that has each player shuffle all permanents they own into their library, including lands, which is why it's annoying, can be annoying, then reveals that many cards from the top of their library. Each player puts all artifacts, creature, and land cards revealed this way onto the battlefield, then does the same for enchantments, cards, then puts all cards revealed this way that weren't put on the battlefield onto the bottom of their library. So the big thing with that is why it has enchantments second to all of the other ones is because if you have an enchantment aura, if you're playing it at the same time as another card, it doesn't actually see anything that it can attach to and fizzles. So if you put all of the other things, the artifacts, the creatures, and lands on the battlefield, the enchantments come in and it has an aura that it can attach to, well, then it's going to get attached. But, big thing is it puts all permanents in the deck. So this puts away battles. This puts away planeswalkers. I'm not sure if I can think of any other permanents that are on the battlefield other than what's listed here and what I have listed. There probably is one that I'm forgetting, but the big thing is that everything goes away, but instead of Chaos Warp where it goes into your hand, if it's revealed and it's not one of these things, it goes onto the bottom of your library. You don't get to keep it in your hand. So that's a little bit of the trouble with Warp World. So if you got a lot of instants or sorceries that you reveal up, you could be down a whole lot of cards, which can be pretty distressing. All right, let's get these away. And up next, now that we've done our Felix the Cat, we're going to have a little, almost like a trio here, because we've got a lot of Garfield. Cat that is very, very famous. It's been in the comics for years. This is what that saying meant, right? I don't know what saying you're talking about, but... Oh, I guess this is... Garfield is technically Nickelodeon. Oh, and thank you for being part of Secret Lair with a lot of lasagna here. Okay, so let's take a look into these. These ones, I think, are going to be the least artistic in terms of, like, new artwork. So, probably won't be going too deep into this. I wonder if which a dog would have been chosen if dogs had one, or very possibly they could be doing dogs just at a different time. Be like, oh yeah, we're planning both. But it has been more than a year since these came out. So since the original ones came out, so I could see them not doing dogs, but I don't know. There's a feeling of me that says they will. So first up, we've got a little bit of Swords to Plowshares. Always a good one here. 1 white mana for an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. This is the better version of Path to Exile because Path to Exile, they get a land, they ramp in a sense. This way they gain life. It's really easy to take care of life. So definitely good on this one here. Garfield is very famous for pushing Odie, the dog that he lives with, off of tables. So it makes sense of a single target removal. He's getting rid of, his roommate, essentially, John's other pet. Next up, we've got Counterspell. And there we have John. 2 blue for an instant to counter target spell. Very, very classic card. It's been around forever. Sometimes when Garfield is angry, he will physically assault John. A little bit of that slapstick humor. Didn't get the lasagna that he needed. It's a Monday and he just feels like it. It's all a possibility for him. And then we are also going to be getting a Dark Ritual. Always a good one there, but I would say that it's probably my least favorite artwork of it, just because it's not really showcasing anything super amazing there. 1 black for an instant that you add 3 black mana. put a little bit of mana in, you get a lot of mana out. You have Garfield probably waking up on a Monday trying to drink coffee to kind of get out of it. So the coffee could be seen as dark, dark roast, or just not having any cream or sugar in it, so that you could think of it as a dark ritual. And he's got his little teddy bear Pookie with him. All right, we are also going to be getting some Earthquake, which is going to be X and a red for a sorcery. Earthquake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. So you're going to be able to deal a whole lot of damage to everyone there. And you've got John having made some lasagna, and the Earthquake you could think of in twofold. It could be, as the picture depicts, Garfield's stomach is rumbling really loud, so it might be rumbling loud enough because he loves lasagna to be thinking, oh, like, I get my lasagna, I'm so hungry. Or it could just be because Garfield is a bit on the heavier side, and anytime he steps around, he's causing earthquakes. So, it's a decent card. A lot of other better ones out there, but, it's a classic one. All of these are supposed to be classics. Like this last one, Fog, which is going to be green for an instant, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn because Garfield's fallen asleep. So what has ended up happening is all the rats have been able to go absolutely wild. Garfield does not hunt. He just likes his Italian food. Rats and mice are not Italian food, so he will let all of them be, and by falling asleep, he has essentially fogged. And it looks like we're probably going to be getting the same card here, so we will look at this last one, which is going to be a clone. Ooh, okay. 3 and a blue for a 0/0 creature shapeshifter. You may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. If you don't, well, it's a 0/0 and it dies instantly, but clone effects are always really, really nice to have. Being able to make copies of some of your non-legendary creatures, or if you've got a creature on your opponent's field, even if it is legendary, you can make a copy of itself. But the funny thing is, we have the Spider-Man meme of them, the Garfields pointing at each other. This one on the right, the one with the bigger jowls, is actually the original design of Garfield, and the one on the left is what it slowly became over time. So we have a little bit more of a traditional cat shape, if you will, for the original, which kind of morphed into a more anthropomorphized figure later on. So nifty little clone there, and we will take all of those and put these off to the side. Next up, we have, as we said, we had multiple Garfields. We're going to have motivationally challenged Garfield. Now, I don't exactly know what that means, to be motivationally challenged. I know that he doesn't like his Mondays, but that's about it. And not lazy, I'm motivationally challenged. Okay, so I guess it's along the lines of he just doesn't want to do anything, and that's what the dealio is. Okay. Okay, first up we've got, they're starting with multicolor on the front. We have Garfield and Odie, best buds. That's a bit debatable, but this is going to be a copy of Rin and Seri Inseparable. Now, we have gotten a Commander Precon through Secret Lair based off of Rin and Seri, which I was able to get at the time. And Rin and Seri has shown up in a couple of other things as well. I believe that they also showed up in another one. I believe they didn't have the special artwork for it, but I think that they also had one in the Moraphon deck as well, because it bases off of cats and dogs, and you have a lot of shapeshifters. It works out for both of them. So this is going to be a red, a green, and a white for a 4/4 legendary cat dog with, whenever you cast a dog spell, you get a 1/1 green cat creature token. Whenever you cast a cat spell, you get a 1/1 white dog creature token. So you cast cats, you get some extra dog tokens. You cast dogs, you get some extra cat tokens. So you get a lot of them out there. And, well, why do you want to do that? Well, it's last effect there. By paying a red, a green, and a white and tapping this, you can have this creature called Best Buds. Deal damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control, and you gain life equal to the number of cats you control. So you can you get a bunch of dogs out onto the battlefield, and you're like, hey, I got a lot of dogs out there. I'm going to do a lot of extra damage. They're going to go out and attack. I got a lot of cats. They're going to be resting in the sunshine, in the sunbeam. I'm going to recover a lot. Now, I'll have to look because I thought that it was the other way around. I thought that it was based off the number of cats that you have, you dealt damage, and based off the number of dogs, you gain life. I'll have it on the screen here, somewhere, to be, another version of it to make sure if that's correct or not. But, whichever way, you're going to be casting a lot of cats or a lot of dogs. It's nice there. We got the Garfield and Odie together instead of, getting pushed off the side of the table, the countertop. Next up, we've got, back to just being the white one there, Orem's Charm, which is going to be, it's going to be Talk to the Paw, which is going to be a copy of Orem's Charm, which is going to be 1 white for an instant with kicker white. So you can pay an extra white to get an extra effect when you cast this. Target player can't cast spells this turn. If the spell was kicked, creatures can't attack this turn. So it's a good way of protecting yourself in a turn. You pay, the 2 white mana, and you stop a player from casting spells on their turn, so anything that is not an instant speed, and you prevent them from attacking that turn. So if they've got a way to kill you, well, that's a way to stop them. So maybe it's motivational of like, Best Buds is the motivation and Talk to the Paw is the motivation. Next up, we've got Hang in There. That's a very classic one, or a classic phrase, which is going to be a copy of Ponder. 1 green for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. You may shuffle and then draw a card. So you're able to essentially look at everything at the top there, put them back in an order that you want them to. Maybe you've got something like miracles, or you need to guess something on top, or you want to cascade into something. You're going to be able to do that. And if you don't like anything that's on the top, you can unshuffle your deck, go through it all, and then you draw the card, first card there. So it's a cantrip there replacing itself. And you've got Garfield hanging onto the screen, just hanging out, not doing anything. All right, next up we've got I Hate Mondays, a very classic Garfield, teaching everyone to not like Mondays because it's the first day of the week. You get off of the weekend there. This is going to be a copy of Beast Within, which is going to be 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. So very good targeted removal where you can remove any permanent on the battlefield, whether that's a creature, an artifact, an enchantment, or even a land. They've got a really good land out there. Well, now they've just got a 3/3 beast. Oh, that artifact or that creature is a linchpin in their combo. Well, you can get rid of it there and just replace it with a 3/3 generic beast, and which is going to be really easy to get rid of. So always a good one to have. And we would not be complete if we did not have a soul ring to complete this all out. And it'll be our classic 1 mana for an artifact that taps to add 2 colorless mana. Always having positive mana there. It's a bit of a, as we know, a bit of a broken card in terms of what it does. You're always mana plus with it. We've got Garfield dancing with his girlfriend Arlene, I believe that's her name, on the fence with the moon in the background there. So at night, so that very classic cats yowling during the night, singing, and instead they're dancing the tango or something like that. And it looks like we've got the same card in the next ones there, I believe, which is going to be Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. Garfield looking like there's a bunch of presents there that he just wants to be able to grab. And this is going to be a copy of Shiny Impetus, which is going to be 2 and a red for a enchantment aura. You enchant creature, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2, is goaded, and whenever a enchanted creature attacks, you create a treasure token. So you can put this on your own thing, make it a little bit bigger, but the big thing is you can put this on something that is very impactful for your opponent. Maybe something they don't want to have tapped, so you can try to get rid of it, or something that's big that you don't want swinging at yourself. And being goaded means if it can attack during a turn, it must attack. And it cannot attack you. I think, and maybe unless you are the last opponent. So if you're playing a commander, then it'd have to attack the other two players. But I believe if both of them are gone, then it can attack you. So always a nice one there to get a little bit of extra treasure. I remember using it recently on an Ophiomancer to try to get rid of it so that they would stop creating snakes every turn. And for whatever reason, it just kept on sticking around for one reason or another. Alrighty, so now we've gone through that. We're going to be getting into some more Garfield, but a little bit more psychedelic. So of these Garfield sets, these are definitely going to be the ones that are going to be the most strange, I believe. Maybe not Eldritchian, but it's definitely going to be some different type of artwork, if to put it lightly. Alrighty. Okay, so first up, we are going to have It That Betrays. A very, very good card that from the Rise of the Eldrazi, I believe, that has always made a good impact, and I would definitely like to add into more decks there. Now that I've got more of them, it's possible. So this is going to be 12 mana. A lot of mana there, right? For an 11/11 creature Eldrazi. Oh, it's a big creature. Well, it's got Annihilator too. Now, it does not say what Annihilator is, but Annihilator is whenever this creature attacks, defending player must sacrifice a number of permanents equivalent to its Annihilator cost. So this attacks in an opponent, they've got to sacrifice 2 permanents, whether they be creature, artifact, enchantment, or lands. But whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, you put that card onto the battlefield under your own control. That's why it betrays, because you make them sacrifice stuff because of the Annihilator, and you get it. And in here, we have a picture of Garfield with 6 arms, going full Spider Garfield mode. And he has a bunch of different dishes that are in his paws, all of them food. So he is essentially taking all of the food in the house and potentially betraying you and making you starve. At least that's my interpretation of it. A little bit more of the, not creepy, but just slight horror elements there. Up next, we've got Maddening Cacophony. Another nifty one here. 1 and a blue for a sorcery with kicker 3 and a blue. As we said, you pay the kicker, you get an extra cost. So to do the kicker, you would need 4 and 2 blue. For each opponent mills 8 cards. If this spell was kicked, instead, each opponent mills half their library rounded up. So potential of milling out a whole lot of cards, whether it's just paying 2 and they're milling 8 cards each, so that's 24 cards that gets milled total, or you kick it and, well, that's half of all of their libraries gone. And we've got Garfield here probably not wanting to get up on a Monday. He's smashing his alarm clock to prevent it from going, but it's just so loud and all of them are going off at the same time. Even Pookie cannot protect him, and he looks tired. Next up, we have Maddening Hex. Another really interesting one as well. Looks like maybe Garfield does not like spiders here. I was not entirely certain of that. Maybe I remember something about him always trying to smash some spiders, or like spiders going on or something. I can't quite remember, but it definitely looks like he doesn't like spiders here. 1 and 2 red for an enchantment or a curse. You enchant a player. Whenever the enchanted player casts a non-creature spell, you roll a d6. This aura deals damage to that player equal to the result. Then you attach this aura to another one of your opponents chosen at random. So you put this out onto one player. They cast a non-creature spell. They take between 1 and 6 damage, and then it goes off to one of your other opponents. Now, it will never actually hit on you because you control the spell, and it specifically says another one of your opponents. So it's going to be another one of the two if you've got another opponent. Now, if you're down to the last one, it sticks with them there. So a very nifty one that I would like to be able to use more. And now that we've got more, it'd be a very nice addition to be able to use. So thank you very much for that one. We don't think we've gotten much of that. Up next, we've got Hunter's Insight, which looks like Garfield might have gone back in time to be a caveman. He's riding a saber-toothed tiger, and he speared the wild lasagna for some dinner. Oh boy. 2 and a green for an instant. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, you draw that many cards. Okay, so if you feel like you're going to get in, basically if you know you're going to get in, then you use this to potentially draw a whole bunch of extra cards. Very good in green, as green is not necessarily known for drawing a ton of cards, so being able to draw some extra is kind of nice. I don't think that this is necessarily going to be the most impactful card of the set, but, you know, it is one that is there to potentially help green a bit. And our last known card is going to be Molten Collapse. A lot of lasagna moving around. Now, this is more of the Eldritchian horror of all of these different Garfields melting in with all of the lasagna, you know, probably having a Food Wars type of hallucination from it. I hope that there was nothing extra in that lasagna. But this is going to be black and a red for a sorcery. You choose one. If you descended this turn, you may choose both instead. So descended is a mechanic from Ixalan, the Forgotten Caverns of Ixalan that I can't quite remember. I think it deals with milling cards, but I can't be quite certain. But the different options you have are destroy target creature or planeswalker, which is always nice. It's a little bit of a terminate. Or destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less. So you can get rid of a Soul Ring. You can get rid of something that has mana cost 0. You could get rid of a token. You know, those are all possibilities for you. You know, very, very good ones here. It looks like we've got the same one here as well, which is going to be a Shoot the Sheriff back from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. We have 1 and a black, instant, destroy target non-outlaw creature. So this is going to be very similar to Go for the Throat, which was also, I believe, 1 and a black, instant, destroy target non-artifact creature. You also have Doomblade, the classic, 1 and a black, destroy target non-black creature. Now, destroy target non-outlaw creature, there are certain creatures that are outlaws like Mercenary and Assassin, I think, and there's a few other ones out there, but, you know, just as long as you know which ones are which, you're able to do it. But it looks like Garfield is essentially made out of food in this one here, and I don't exactly know what the context is of this, but he's got, you know, 2 bananas that are pointing out like a couple of pistols to be able to shoot it, but he's surrounded by a banquet feast of all different manners of foods. You got ham and chicken and steak and, you know, breakfast sandwich and ice cream and a regular sandwich and a burger and everything you could possibly want. You know, he's snacking on it while also being made out of fruits and vegetables and maybe a lime for a mouth. But yeah, this is a bit more of the psychedelic type of artwork for that set that came up. And I think probably my favorite artwork of the 3, since, you know, these ones were okay. These ones almost felt like they were ripped out of the comic. But in addition to all of that, we did get an extra bonus. So, you know, you spend so much on a Secret Lair, you sometimes get a bonus. In this particular case, it's going to be lasagna, which Garfield says is nature's most perfect food. And, you know, it's just going to have the same artwork that we saw on the front there. We're going to have Garfield right here. Some kind of like baked into the lasagna. As you can see, the pillow, he's using it as like a bed, multiple layers. very cheesy, and he's got his feet sticking out, looking super comfortable, and honestly looks kind of nasty. I mean, if I got stuck inside of lasagna like that, I think that I would feel very icky at the very end of it all. But Garfield loves his lasagna, so I mean, I guess you can't really blame him for wanting to do that. Well, now that we've kind of got through all of our cats that were kind of from different properties, we're going to be getting into some other ones, though I guess technically this might be another one. I've never heard of it before, but this is Toby's Journey by Gary Baseman. I don't know who Toby is. I do know that it's this character, but that's about it. The only reason why I know that is I believe that he was the character on every single artwork there. Wizards of the Coast, which looks like we've got a little bit of that traditional computer screen creating up some sort of visual with all different symbols. Alrighty, let's get on into this and see what Toby has to offer us. All right, first up we've got All-Seeing Toby. Look at him. He knows everything. I guess that he's the All-Seeing Toby because he's got this beam of light that's shooting at the top of his hat, which has a third eye, kind of similarly to that mind's eye we saw on Felix the cat. So this is going to be a copy of Sovereign Okine Ahau, which I believe is also from that Lost Caverns of Ixalan, which is going to be 2, a green, and a white for a 3/4 legendary cat noble with ward 2. So you want to target this, you got to pay 2 extra mana to be able to do that with any sort of spell or ability from your opponents. You don't have to pay it. Whenever All-Seeing Toby attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than that creature's base power, you put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So if your things are a little bit bigger, you put some extra +1/+1s on it. So you use a spell that gives it, let's say Giant Growth because it's green. Giant Growth gives something +3/+3. Use it on the All-Seeing Toby. You attack in with it, and it's like, oh, All-Seeing Toby is, has 3 power greater than it normally does. You put 3 +1/+1 counters on it, so it's now a 6/7, but you also get the +3/+3, so now it's a 9/10. And because of the way that +1/+1 counters work, I would want to look into see of this because +1/+1 counters do not change its base power and toughness, at least from my knowledge. So if you're essentially doubling the number of counters on it whenever this attacks, that would be a little bit of an overpowered thing. So I want to potentially go in and see if that's the case, because if that is, that's a little bit powerful, and I've got definitely places to use this. Next up, we've got Trailblazer Boots, and we've got Toby going through, and this reminds me of that SpongeBob episode where Plankton tries to make friends with him to be assertive and get people off of the beach so that Plankton can create some new structures. And SpongeBob goes out there and he's like, stepping on the beach, stepping on the beach, that type of thing. It kind of has that sort of sound effect to it. So it's 2 for an artifact equipment with equip cost of 2. And the equipped creature has non-basic Landwalk. So Landwalk is not something that's necessarily used a whole lot anymore. It's generally if your opponent controls a certain type of land, then that creature is not able to be blocked by that opponent. In this case, non-basic Landwalk, meaning if they control a non-basic land, so anything that doesn't say basic land on it, well, that creature gets in and attacks for free. Honestly, in Commander, pretty darn good. There's not a whole lot of decks that play non-basics. Even a lot of decks that run monocolor use some sort of non-basics, whether it's going to be something like Cabal Coffers or, Gaia's Cradle or, just anything that has some sort of extra benefit or some sort of utility land. So honestly, pretty good pickup. Oops, I'm moving stuff around here. Next up, we've got The Long Goodbye, which I think was a movie recently. Is this a Stephen King book? Maybe? I can't quite remember. Long Goodbye sounds like a movie name. But this was the cover artwork that we saw. 1 and a black for an instant. This spell can't be countered, which is always nice. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. I mean, in a faster format like Standard or Modern or anything like that, doing this to get rid of some sort of creature that's 3 mana or less, probably a lot of them are. Be a little bit better if it could hit artifacts or enchantments or whatnot there, but it's kind of standard there. So as we can see here, 1 and a black is kind of our standard of instant that gets rid of creature, but there is some sort of constraint, whether it's being non-black, being a non-artifact, being, in this case, 3 mana or less, or what was the one that we saw before, the Shoot the Sheriff, a non-outlaw. So it makes sense. And, The Long Goodbye, it looks like a big parade that Toby is leading there, and everybody gets to look out, though it looks like we have some sort of Cyclops that looks like a homunculus from the Magic the Gathering series. Next up, we've got Farseek, and we've got Toby hopping onto a giant rabbit and popping off to, I guess, see the different sights. He's in some sort of jungle with giant creatures, whether they be Brachiosaurus, giant bees, giant monkey, and a sentient ice cream cone. What type of place is this? 1 and a green for a sorcery that you search your library for a plains, island, mountain, or swamp. Put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Big thing about this is it doesn't stay basic, so a lot of people go in and get some sort of dual land or something that can provide them some sort of extra benefit. You go out and get like a triome as well, because it's like, well, it's going to be one of those, and it already enters tapped anyway, so why not get it with this? You can get a surveil land as well to be able to look at it, do your little surveil one. Very, very good tutor for a land because of not needing to get in basic. And we're also going to get Prismatic Vista back from Modern Horizons 1. I was trying to remember if this was the one that we saw a lot of, and no, that's Fabled Passage that we saw a lot of in recent Commander decks. Prismatic Vista was the one from Modern Horizons 1, and it's a decent one. It's a land where you tap it, you pay 1 life, and you sack this land. You search for a library for a basic land card, you put it on the battlefield, and then you shuffle. Well, why is this one so good, or why is it decent? Because it looks like a lot like Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse. Well, the reason why this is different is that, sure, you're tapping it and you're paying the life, so it's worse than those, right? Well, no, when you sacrifice this and you search it for the basic land like they do, instead you put it on the battlefield. You don't put it on the battlefield tapped, so you're able to use it right away. So you're able to mana fix immediately and not necessarily have to worry about it being tapped and you have to wait until next turn to be able to use it. So in this particular case, it looks like Toby has opened up some sort of theme park like Disneyland, but this is Tobyland instead. And he's looking at some sort of big portrait of himself. And there's a couple of rides, like I don't know what it's called, but it's like a merry-go-round or Ferris wheel. And then we've got him up in the air balloon. And it looks like our final cards are going to be identical here, which are going to be, oh, no, my bad. They are not. These are going to just be random cards. So for this one here, we're going to be getting Knight of the White Orchid. So this is going to be our new sets where we've had elves and slivers and zombies. Now we're going to have humans. So this is going to be 2 white for a 2/2 human knight with first strike. And when this creature ETBs, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search a library for a plains and put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. So it's a catch-up mechanic of being able to put in if your opponent has been ramping, or if you've been playing things that bounce your own lands, you can put this out there, get a plains, and be able to, have it come in untapped. And the big thing is it says search for a plains card. It does not say search for any basic plains. So you can get a dual land, you can get your Triumph, you can get your Surveil land, and it doesn't say put it in the battlefield tapped. So if it would have the potential of coming in untapped, you can do that. So nice to get that one there. And our other one is going to be a Saracen, and okay, a very good one here. 1 white for a 1/1 human monk with lifelink. So you might be like, well, why is a 1/1 creature with lifelink so good? Well, as long as you have 30 or more life, this creature gets +5/+5 and has flying. Well, in Commander, you traditionally have 40 life that you start off with. So you start off the game with this, and you play it for 1 mana, and it's a 6/6 lifelink flying creature. Absolutely absurd. So it is definitely a card that is worthwhile running, and I'm glad to have gotten another copy of it. And it has a artwork that I don't quite recognize there, so that's also really good, getting some new artwork. But it's also really nice to see the retro borders to them as well. It's always nice to see those sorts of things. Up next, we are going to have Witch's Familiar. So this is going to be a lot of witches with their little ghosty cats. They're really, really cute. Be able to get in and see all of these ones here. Well, it looks like we might have a double-faced card in there because we saw that shininess on the back. As you can see, the color on the edges around here. So we'll have to be a little bit careful not to reveal that right away. Because, of course, I saw these when they originally came out, but I don't quite remember everything that's inside of them. First off, we're going to have Sheltered by Ghosts. So this is going to be from our Duskmourn sets and has been a really good enchantment in Standard for a while. This is going to be 1 and a white for an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature you control, and when this aura ETBs, you exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. So it acts like an Oblivion Ring. And the equipped creature gets +1/+0, has lifelink and ward. So it gets a little bit bigger, you can gain life with it, and you make it a little bit trickier to be able to target. So you essentially Oblivion Ring one of their permanents onto your own creature, make it harder to target to get rid of in case they have some sort of kill spell, like we've seen with Shoot the Sheriff or the End of the Line there. And in this case here, we have actually the cover art from the set there, which is going to be that witch with the umbrella protecting her from the sun, and is summoning up all of her spooky little cat familiars, though they're not exactly spooky. They're just little ghosties, and they just want to have a nice time there. Very, very cute ones. This entire one is going to be super cute. Next up, we've got Spirit of the Hearth. 4 and double white for a 4/5 cat spirit with flying, and you have hexproof. It feels... I can't remember where this comes from, but I remember the traditional art of it's like a ghostly lion with wings on top of a home. But in this case here, it's going to be a witch drinking her tea and has her little spirit companion next to her, just sleeping and acting very kitty cat-like. Very, very cute. So this is going to be flying, and you have hexproof. So if your opponent has some sort of effect that targets you, well, it can't. So if it says target player does this, well, then they can't target you with whatever it is that they're trying to do. So it's a nifty little one that Aegis of the Gods or something like that from Theros block put out, that people were like, oh man, this is so good because it's like 2 mana for a similar effect, and it ended up being not that good. Next up, we've got Wayfarer's Bauble. 1 mana for an artifact with pay 2 and tap this to sack it and search a library for a basic land, put on battlefield, tap and shuffle. You know, a little bit of very basic tutoring up for a land. And in this particular case, it looks like we have some sort of sphere. Maybe that's used to help summon up some of these kitty cats. But that's about all I can glean from this. And definitely has some writings and books around that probably the witches are utilizing. Oh, but here we are. Here is the kitty cat. It's kind of hidden by the text box here, but it's just sleeping on the ground there, just probably waiting for you to finish up with whatever it is you're working on to play with them. Next up, we've got Boseiju, who shelters all. Nice little land from original Kamigawa block. A legendary land that enters tapped, and you can tap this to pay 2 life to add a colorless. And if that mana is spent on an instant or sorcery, that spell can't be countered. So potentially a way of trying to get one of your big pieces out there if you want to. That's always good. And we've got the cats around. One of them is looking up at their brethren. One of them is hanging out in the tree, and the other one is using it like a scratching post. Probably some sort of ancient tree that the witches use. From its branches, they keep watch of the comings and goings of the courtyard. Yep. And up next, I believe is our double-faced card, which is going to be Witch Enchanter. So this is going to be one of our MDFCs, which is, let's see. I can't remember what the M stands for, but DFC is dual-faced card. But this one can be a land. So this is 3 and a white for a 2/2 human warlock. In this case, it's a witch. When this ETBs, you destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. So a little bit of targeted removal is always nice on that. And on the back side, we're going to get a land, which is going to be Witch Blessed Meadow. A land that as it enters, you may pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. But it can tap for 1 white mana. And there we have the Witch's Meadow, which is going to be this the top of the building garden, where we have the witch hanging out with her ghostly cat. And we've got a few more ghosty cats. Another one on the roof here, one further on the roof there, and one on the top of the roof over there as well, just kind of looking out. And we've got some flowers growing around here. So a little bit probably off the beaten path, not necessarily in a city, but very, very cute. It's important to have a place to recharge among friends. Absolutely. Many botanical charms are available for even the hobbyist magical gardener. And this looks like where they are, on top of the house there, just a little bit more up close for them. So very, very cute set. I can see why it's very desirable among people. The MDFCs, maybe it stands for like multiple dual face card, or I don't know. But I don't know what our final cards are going to be. And it looks like they're going to be some of our humans. So I'll do them one at a time. First one up is going to be a Darien King of Keldor. 4 double white for a 3/3 legendary human soldier with whenever you're dealt damage, you may create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. So you get hit, and you got a lot of ways to be able to defend yourself next time because you make a lot of extra 1/1s. So if you've got a way to double up the amount that you've got with some sort of parallel lives effect, definitely a good way to be able to do that. And our other one is going to be the same exact one, Darien King of Keldor. So looking like we got double up of those, but I don't even have a original Darien King of Keldor. So I will absolutely take 2 of them there just in case I want to put multiple copies in. But yeah, absolutely. Witch's Familiar was a very, very cute, very, very adorable set there. Absolutely thrilled about that. Next one up that we have is going to be the Cats of Chaos. Now, this would have been one where I could have imagined that they have that Warp World, Chaos Warp. They might, and maybe I'm just remembering that they do. And saying that, I can't quite remember. But let us peek in here. Just wanted to make sure that this was the non-foils so that we could put them in the right places. Alrighty. No dual face cards here. First off, we're going to have a little bit of Fell the Mighty. 4 and a white for a sorcery that destroys all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. So your opponents have a lot of things that are bigger than yours. Maybe you have only things with 1 or 2 power. Good way to do it. Also really good to use in a Toughness Matters deck like Door in the Siege Engine, the what is it? Belor, Bakor. I can't quite remember what it is from the new Dragonstorm, the Spirit Dragon, or I can't remember. Felothar, I think, is the other commander, which, all of them there have some sort of effect that it's, creature deals damage based off of its toughness, but it doesn't change the actual base power. So you could have something with 0, 1, or 2 base power, get rid of all of the other big things on your opponent's side of the field, or just essentially say, I've got a lot of 0s or 1s, and maybe they've got something with 1 or 2 power that's super impactful and get rid of it. And in this case here, it looks like we have a dog that is trying to spook this cat, but the cat is invoking this giant cat spirit to scare away the dog from trying to hunt it. A cat who burns many lives at once burns many times more brightly. At nighttime, it's got a nice crescent moon. Up next, we've got Aggravated Assault. 2 and a red for an enchantment with 3 and double red. Untap all creatures you control. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Activate only as a sorcery. So very good in the multiple attack steps, good with Rurik Thar, good with Big Stompy, things that you want to deal a lot of combat damage with. Obviously, one that I could use in my multiple combat phase steps. In here, we've got a bunch of cats that are going off after a fresh fish that has dropped off. Quickly, go after it, because you never know when you're going to have quite as good of a meal as this. The battle that ensued was not between the cats and the fish, but between the cats and the cats. Yeah. You got a lot of wild cats. They're going to be fighting over the food if they can. Next up, we've got Chaos Warp. Okay, so I was right that, Cats of Chaos, Chaos Warp makes sense, and it looks like we have them rippling across the time here. Reminds me a lot of Aaron Hunter's Warrior Cats books there, where we've got like Star Clan and the rest of the cats here. This is going to be 2 and a red for an instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it on the battlefield. Okay, so it doesn't go into their hand, it just stays on the top of their deck if it's not a permanent. Okay, so I remembered it incorrectly, but, it was basically the same thing there. So, keeping it on top instead of putting it on the bottom is what makes it a little bit different from the Warp World, but very similar effects. And it's very, I think, thematic that we got both this as well as Warp World in the same sets. Next up, we've got Utopia Sprawl, which is going to be 1 green mana for an enchantment aura. You enchant a forest, and as this ETBs, you choose a color. Whenever the enchanted forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of the chosen color. So we have a giant floofy cat that is essentially acting as a cloud over a city, and there's a rainbow going over it, acting very cute. Sprawled off on its back, it really wants you to give it a belly rub. Please, please, please give it a belly rub. Have you ever heard a cloud purr? It really wants those belly rubs, please. Next up, we have Aura Shards. A very, very nice one here. We have 1 a green and a white for an enchantment. When a creature you control ETBs, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Very, very good here. Looks like this is off on Kaladesh, or Avishkar, as it gets named too, because we see the Aetherflux Reservoir in the background, which you can destroy with this. And we have a little bit of a soul ring in its mouth. Now, I'm not familiar with this. If it's anything, it looks like it could be like the plant that we see on some like classic printings of Zurin Orb. I'm not sure. And yeah, but nice little kitty cats here. This one looks very similar to the cat that I had when I was an infant. black cat with white boots and a like a white bib. Very, very cute. So might have to run multiple copies of these because it looks like my cat. But nothing is truly broken if you knock it over with intent. And it looks like we are going to have separate cards here. So let's put these out and see what we grab here. First off, we've got another Knight of the White Orchid, as we had before. You know, the getting the plains kind of makes sense with, you know, the big lion that we've got. And over here, we're going to have another Knight of the White Orchid. Okay, so getting a bit of those. Those are probably the more common ones to be able to get since we got 2 of them. Yeah, bit unsurprising if that were the case. I would imagine that Saracen is probably a more difficult one to get. So, hey, you know, glad to be able to get it. And the last one, and the most sought-after one from this set, is going to be Per Majesty. Now, I think it has a lot of cards that have not had a lot of printings in them. So getting those, as well as them having really, really cute kitty cat designs, makes them extremely desirable. So I am glad that I was able to get my copies and be able to add these all to my collection. You know, me being going through like a General Grievous, adding lightsabers, except in this case, I'm adding cute cat Magic the Gathering cards instead. All right, first off, we are going to have the titular card from the front, Court of Grace. Again, this is one that I believe has not been printed all that much. It's just, I believe, been in Throne of Eldraine. Maybe it's had one other scarce printing, but this is going to be 2 and double white for an enchantment. As it ETBs, you become the Monarch. Ooh, very fancy. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. But if you're the Monarch, you create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying instead. So very, very nice of potentially getting just extra tokens out every turn, potentially them being very big. And in this case here, you've got a cute little kitty cat on top of a cupcake with a crown on their head. You know, very, very cute Monarch kitty. Next up, we've got Reverent Mantra. 3 and a white for an instant. You may exile a white card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. You choose a color. All creatures gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. Very, very nice. Kind of a little bit of a Mother of Runes type of effect, except it goes on all of your creatures instead of just one target one. And the exile a white card from your hand rather than pay its cost very much reminds me of the like Force of Will, Force of Vigor, you know, those type of ones that we have had. And, you know, always good to get more free spells. Free spells are always really good, especially protection and counter spells. So great on those. Up next, we've got Windborn Muse. 3 and a white for a 2/3 spirit with flying. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. A little bit of a stacks piece, very similar to Propaganda, or the other one that I can never remember, that has the like Minotaur spirit surrounded by the spectral swords. But this time here, we have a cat riding on a broom. It looks like the witch left it on go mode, and they just kept on going with it. Still using a broom because the vacuum is too scary, too loud and scary. You know, makes sense. Up next, we've got the Queen herself, Per Majesty, Queen Marchesa, who we did not get from our opening of Conspiracy Take the Crown. So this is going to be 1, a red, a white, and a black for a 3/3 legendary human assassin. Very funny because this is a kitty cat. They are going to have Death Touch and Haste, so they can attack in right away. And when Queen Marchesa ETBs, you become the Monarch. Of course, she is the Queen after all. Why wouldn't you become the Monarch? At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is the Monarch, you create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Death Touch and Haste, so you can potentially try to go in and attack them. So if they've taken it from you somehow, you can say, hey, you know, like, I can go in and grab it from you, or you can let me keep it and I get the 4/4 flyer instead. But, yep, you know, you've got the this Her Majesty cat on the throne with the little dolls that they have in a lot of these different artworks. Very, very cute. And last one that we know of is going to be this Ruinous Ultimatum, which is not the one that we had in the Cats versus Dogs Chaos vaults. I feel like there was another one, another ultimatum, like maybe the Naya one, the red, green, and white one that I can't quite remember. But Ruinous Ultimatum is 2 red, 3 white, and 2 black. Very specific for a sorcery to destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. So one-sided board wipe. Get rid of all of their creatures, all of their artifacts, all of their enchantments, all of their planeswalkers, all of their battles, everything that they have that's not a land. This is just the beginning, tipping over the glass with all the flowers in it. And it looks like we've got the same one here, special, but, you know, cats are going to be cats. Last one of this set is going to be a Hellish Rebuke from our D&D sets, I believe. 2 and a black for an instant until end of turn. Permanents your opponent's control gain. When this permanent deals damage to the player who cast Hellish Rebuke, sacrifice this permanent, you lose 2 life. That's pretty darn good. As we can see here, we've got the kitty cat that is tearing up everything on the chair because it probably gave it a little bit of a static shock or something, and now it's trying to get its revenge. But yeah, you know, essentially saying, you know, a creature attacks you, then that creature gets sacrificed, and the controller of the creature also loses 2 life. That's pretty darn good. I mean, you put this into something nasty like a Turgid deck or the It That Betrays that we had before, and, you know, they sacrifice the stuff, and it's like, oh, well, now I get all of those things. That is a pretty nasty one. Well, just like our Witch's Familiar, these were another collection of really cute cats that I am absolutely thrilled to add to my collection. Absolutely perfect, if you will. So thank you for joining me on this one. I'm really glad that we got a whole bunch of cats. I prefer cats a little bit more to dogs, so getting a whole lot of cats was really, really nice. So I hope that you have luck with whatever it is that you are working on. Please take care of yourself. I'll look forward to having you on another one of these. Until we do, have a good afternoon, evening, or night. I'll see you then. Take care.